Really glad to be with you today. And yes, I have a company with some other folks called Wisdom Labs, and we bring mindfulness, resilience, and well-being to companies. And what we really believe is that that's going to be the big vehicle for change in the world, because considering our current political situation, and also businesses is the biggest lever for potential for positive change in the world. And if we can help change from the inside out, that's really what we're here to do. And so today, though, I want to talk about some things that I've come across in my life that could be really helpful for you. So we're going to start with kind of a big picture scenario, and then get down to the specifics about you as an individual. And then I'll leave you with a couple skills that you can take away. And so that'll be happening in the next 20 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A. So let's start, as I mentioned, with the big picture. What is the meaning of life? Uh-oh, right? Have you thought about that one for a while? Well, a person that we can call to help us answer what is the meaning of life is Joseph Campbell. And Joseph Campbell studied myths across time and across cultures. And what Joseph Campbell said was, the meaning of life is whatever you ascribe it to be. That's kind of liberating. So if the meaning of life is whatever you make it out to be, another person to turn to, and again, staying at the big picture view, is Rumi, who said, live your life as if everything is rigged in your favor.
Yes.
Yeah, right? I first heard that. We invited Arianna Huffington to speak at a conference, actually with Eckhart Tolle, and she laid that out, and I was like, oh yeah, that's good. It kind of just felt my shoulders drop a little bit, knowing that. And I think one of the reasons also why I love that quote is because we have a built-in negativity bias. So the neuroscientists say sometimes that's maybe a 4-to-1 negative to positive, or maybe a 5-to-1. There are a lot of different reasons why that is, but mostly it's based on our evolution, where you had tigers coming at you perhaps, and you needed to react, but that same reaction happens when you get a nasty email. Or you're selecting a set of information and you're pulling out the negative information. We're wired that way. So I like this quote because it helps kind of right the ship, if you will, in terms of imagining that everything in your life is rigged in your favor. And then kind of staying in the big picture view, I want to turn to Eckhart Tolle, who said, life is the dancer and you are the dance. I had to sit with that one for just a little bit. Like, life's a dancer. Well, life is actually moving all the time, and you're the dancer. And the nature of life is it is moving. And D. Hawk coined this term called chaotic. That means chaos and order operating simultaneously. So I would imagine many of you would notice that life is moving faster and is getting more complex. And actually, that's the case. It is getting faster and it is getting more complex. I mean, you can always remove yourself from it, but in most situations, that's what's happening. In fact, stress levels in companies, the last I saw was 73% of people in the US were reported being stressed in a company. That jumped the last time they measured it to 83% of people. So it's good to kind of know that this nature is moving, the nature of life is always going to continue in that direction. So thinking about how you actually orient yourself in that regard. The thing is, you can choose to dance though. So that's one of the good things about it. And in fact, this leads to one of my also favorite quotes, which is from Cyril Connolly, who said, we must select the illusion that appeals to our temperament and embrace it with passion. So choose the illusion which most suits your temperament. So that brings up a couple things. Like, first of all, he wrote this before social media, and what is the illusion that we put out of ourselves, and does it match who you really are? Is there a discordance there, or is it actually lined up nicely? And so thinking about what that illusion might be, and then also asking yourself even, what is your temperament? And if you don't know what your temperament, so to speak, is, ask somebody you know, or some friends. They'd be happy to tell you, I'm sure, about what they think your temperament is. And thinking about how those things line up together is important. And then starting to get kind of from that big picture down to you as an individual again, is asking the question, what do you want? And that can be for big questions that you're looking toward, or even little decisions that you're making. The nice thing about that question, what do you want, it helps to really cut to the chase in terms of making decisions, and helps you kind of tell the truth to yourself, if you will. That question where if you're waffling one way or another, I'm not sure which way to go, you can ask that question and it'll help you decide. And if you still don't know at the end of the day, there's another great axiom that you can follow, which is basically don't know, don't go. So whenever you're in that kind of conundrum, that's a good set of things to kind of just keep in mind. And now we kind of want to get down into the individual level. And for you, as how do you think about aligning three things, really? Your purpose in life, that's a little bit lofty, I realize. How to navigate to that purpose, and then how to align that with what's something that's positive for people on the planet. And I'm going to give a more expanded talk on that on Saturday in the morning that's going to open that whole thing up, but I wanted to cover a bit of it today. And it starts with this quote from Mark Twain, which is, the two most important days in your life, the day you're born and the day you find out why. Why are you really here? What is your unique contribution that you can put forth? And I realized that jumping to the chase with purpose and going after purpose, you're not going to figure that out all right now. And some of you, I'm sure, have already figured that out. But you can start with curiosity to passion, move to purpose, and then your meaning as a pathway. But here's some quick questions you might want to ask yourself. And I'm going to post some things online and resources with these questions and other resources about quizzes you can take about finding your passion, all these kinds of things as resources you can follow up with later. So why are you really here? What do you want to accomplish? What will people remember you for? And this kind of classic one, if there's one thing you could do in your life which nothing could stop you, what would it be? It's just a great thing to sit with for a little bit and just say, oh, okay, I had this thing, but I kind of let it go. And then, how do you navigate to that? Is it all something you think about, or is it through gut feeling? Well, we know that if things move faster and faster, you really can't make all your decisions through your head as things are getting more complex. There's too much information coming in. And some estimate our conscious mind can process 40 bits of information per second, and that our subconscious can process 40 million bits of information per second. And there's really this gut feeling, this enteric nervous system that connects your gut with your brain. And there are millions of neurons that connect that. So how do you start, now that you know that, how do you start to trust that? We all know you have a gut feeling, but there's a real something to that. So one thing that I've been using, and I think is really helpful for people, is to start to select energy in a situation, circumstance, any kind of place that you walk into. You can try it at Wanderlust, is ranking a system between 1 and 10, 1 being the lowest, something you kind of want to move away from, 10 being the highest, and apply to any kind of situation, people, and location. So if you find something that's 8 and above, say you're walking around, it's like you're really drawn towards something, great, follow that. If it's something that's 3 and below, maybe look about ways to walk away from that. But don't leave it at that. Kind of question yourself, like why am I moving toward in a way? It's a great guidance system because as you start to use it, it starts to kind of fall to the background. But you always have it operating, and it's also really kind of related to a lot of things that are happening around unconscious bias for your own self. Which things are you drawn to and which things aren't you drawn to? Just to start to get a bead on where you lie and what you're drawn to. There's nothing wrong or right about your answer. It's just your particular interests are different than others, and that's what we want to celebrate. But it's an excellent way to try it. And try it at Wanderlust while you're here. And then once you kind of have a sense of purpose, it's all really important to understand how to kind of navigate toward your purpose. I'd be curious of how many people here work independently as independent people. Yeah, and then how many people work for companies? Yeah, so it's kind of a bit of a mix. So if you're in a company, and you don't feel like it's the right exact fit for you, there are lots of ways that you can move internally into an organization, within the organization, not necessarily needing to leave that organization. If you're running your own business, you've probably thought long and hard about, is this a really good fit for me? But you even get into businesses and you realize that you're running yourself. There are lots of things that I can tune around that, and I can also learn from some of the knowledge in the startups. For instance, if you're moving to a new product or a new set of offerings, knowing when to jump. And again, I'll be going over some of these a little bit later, how to test your ideas. There's some excellent information, which again I'll put online for you, around lean startup and some of the rules and processes that they can provide for people that are starting to navigate within your own work or from within your business, within your current work situation. And so again, we'll cover a little bit more of that later. And then how do you align with social good? So I was part of an organization for many years, which was the Hub Bay Area, which is a place for social entrepreneurs to gather, and also of a conference that pulled together social entrepreneurs and impact investors, and ran an accelerator for social entrepreneurs as well for some time. And it's amazing the people that you see. I think you've got, for instance, Flow Water here and others, organizations that are doing the business and lining it up with something that's positive for people on the planet. That's what we've been working to do at Wisdom Labs. But when you have those three your purpose lined up with ability to continue to navigate in this complex area toward your purpose, as well as something that's positive for people on the planet, you really have the wind at your back at that point. And I've had in my own businesses 2 of those, mostly always, but I haven't always had 3. And with Wisdom Labs, I just noticed a big change in having those 3 lined up. And I think you will as well. So I also wanted to just point out around a couple tips that you can take away around building resilience. As I mentioned, the stress is increasing over and over, and we've been working in companies for the last 5 years or so now, and the one thing that comes up over and over and over again is life-work balance and stress levels going up and up and up. And so there are a lot of skills now that are starting to come around, and neuroscientists and others were teaching around how to build resilience. And I just want to share one thing that I found, which is an all-around great tool to have in your back pocket for building resilience and in any kind of worrisome situation. And that is the RAIN process. Tara Brach is a teacher who coined this term, this acronym RAIN. She's also an advisor to us. We've worked with her. She's an amazing woman. And what it really, I'll break it down for you. So whenever you're in a situation where you're really stressed, and you know it, right? You're triggered. This thing is going on and you recognize it. R is for recognize. So recognize right away, hey, I'm triggered right now. There's something up, my heart rate's going, all of that. Then A stands for allow. Just allow it to be there. Don't try to push it away. Don't try to act like it's not there. Just allow it to be there. Ultimately, it probably has something to tell you anyway. So if you even get good at this, you might even welcome it in if you view it from a different light. The next thing is is to investigate. So investigate where it shows up in your body, for instance. Does it make your back tight? Are you clenching your jaw? Are you holding your breath? You can even investigate further, what was the original reason that this thing triggered me in the first place? And then N is nourish, or self-compassion, and you can even kind of put your hand on your heart if you're willing, and if you're kind of do it in stealth mode, you can actually just cross your arms and no one will know you're doing it, but just a quick talk to yourself as if you would talk to a friend were talking to you. It's okay, a lot of people go through this, you're going to make it through, that kind of thing. And you can do that, I just broke it down you can do that in just 30, 60 seconds. And of all the skills I've seen taught personally from me, if you can get this into your patterning anytime you're triggered or something is really important that's going on and you need to recognize it, to run through that acronym, it'll be something you can always have with you, and I hope you do use it. I'll also have resources and direct links to Tara Brach's original description of RAIN later, available for you. And then I also wanted to just, at Wisdom Labs we talk a lot about mindfulness, and I actually, what I found is that, again, it's really helpful to, if you don't have a meditation practice, something you just really want to use throughout your day, and the day, whatever you're doing, and especially between transitions, there's this acronym that I want to talk to you about, which is, and I'll do it in a way that kind of hopefully locks it in your mind a little bit, and it's called Betty. All right, so I'll tell you a little story about a woman. Her name is Betty, right? And she was the kindest woman that you ever did meet, really. And she could make a cherry pie like you wouldn't imagine. It makes my mouth water just thinking about it right now. And what I'm really trying to do here is just simply mention Betty so you remember it later, right? It's Betty, but not like B. It's B-E-T-I, and it's not really Betty, it's Betty. So that's the whole deal right there. Betty, so you lock it in. Remember, it's Betty, all right? So got it, okay. All right, I did that just so hopefully you'll remember this term, Betty, all right? Whoop, there we go. Oh, it dropped off. Huh. Well, I'll tell you what, it's okay, because I can walk you through it. Because I already gave you the acronym, right? First of all, B, breath. So this is, first of all, let's use this in any kind of transition when you're coming from work to home, when you're coming from home to work, when you're going between meeting to meeting. So this is the way it rolls. B, take a quick breath. Try it with yourself. Just one breath. This is meant to be quick. Okay? And then body. Do a quick scan, top to bottom. All the way through. Notice if there's any tightness, go back up to the top. E is emotion. What's the most relevant emotion that you have right now? Also with E, where's your energy level? Remember when I was saying about the ranking of 1 through 10? What's your number for that particular time? Because sometimes it's hard to know what your emotion is. And by the way, if you really want to start to study emotions, one of the people on our team is a woman named Eve Ekman. She and her father, Paul Ekman, with the Dalai Lama, built the Atlas of Emotions. And the Atlas of Emotions is available right now at atlasemotions.org. And it's an awesome resource for understanding emotions. So emotions, and then energy level. The T are thoughts. So noticing, this is meant to be a quick scan. Are your thoughts hurried? Are they pretty calm? You're doing that quick scan, and then you can even do something like, are they in the future? Tap your right. Are they in the past? Tap your left. And then finally, and then probably most importantly, the I is intention. What's my intention in this transition for this next bit of time I'm spending? And so you walk through, remember Betty, you walk it through, go through that. You can do it in 30 seconds. I'll do it when I'm walking in the house and I put my hand on the door and I just do that whole kind of walk through, then notice my intention and then walk through the door. I do it when I'm sitting at my computer before I go to an important meeting. I'll just sit there for a minute and just stare and run the process. Okay, cool, now I can move on. So I hope that's another one that you might be able to take away and use in your day-to-day life. And since I don't have any slides up any longer, really what I wanted to do today was start with the very big picture and then hone it down to the elements that really make sense for you as an individual, aligning your purpose, and really how to navigate to that purpose with something that's positive for people on the planet, and a few skills that you can take away that we've seen will be really helpful. And so that's what I hope I've been able to do today. And I hope that really, at the end of the day, you take one of these and use it. Because we get a lot of information from lots of different places. And oftentimes it just washes over us. Take one of those, like the rain or the Babeti or something around what you're going to do in terms of purpose, lock it in, and really use it. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Cory.